Hey, you guys. My friend had a dream, and that dream essentially was about her coming somewhere and seeing Jesus and Isaiah illuminated. She said she could see through them, but not past them. On that particular note, we're gonna go through it, and I'm gonna go ahead and lay this out for you guys because I believe I have the gift of interpretation when it comes to dreams. And the only way I can prove that is if I test it. Thank God she sent it to me because now I can test it. So she sent me the dream. And she's real close to him. She sees him from the side profile. But she stood in the grass and it was about up to her mid calf. And she watched him. And she said it was a perfect day, sun beaming and streaming throughout them both. Couldn't see past them either. So the sun was beaming and streaming throughout them both. So the light was illuminating through them. Couldn't see past them either, which would tell me that whatever's in this story, there's nothing past it. That she couldn't see past it because after this moment, whatever it was that she was having up there, past them is nothing. So to me, it would represent the end. So it was absolutely beautiful. She said it was gorgeous. And she then had said that Isaiah had these dreams. So just from looking at it, I'm going to say, from what I know of the Bible, that Jesus, Isaiah, and Moses were on the Mount of Transfiguration. Jesus took Peter and two other disciples up there, or apostles, took them up there, and they got to witness this. They got to witness God talking to them. They got to witness them talking to Isaiah. All that got to happen. And from what I guess, it's kind of a huge deal. It's one of my most favorite things, and I will tell you why when this is all over. Because it definitely has some spiritual meaning to me. So it's definitely something that ends because you can't look past them. So I do have to go, what is the big significance of this Mount of Transfiguration? This is the picture. I love it. This picture right here is the most miraculous picture I've ever seen. And you guys might not know this, but you have the baptism, you have five major things, and we will go through that. But this is also one of them. The Transfiguration is one of them. It's one of the most important things. It's one of the five greatest things that Jesus could have ever taught you. But they don't teach you that in the church. I don't know why. So I was at the Beacon, right? I'm going to go ahead and share it. So I was at the Beacon in Houston on one of my walks. And I'm walking around there. And I'm looking for a cross to pray on. You know what I mean? So I'm looking for a cross to pray on. Dude comes out, he's like, "Hey, can I help you with something?" I'm like, "Yeah, can you please help me find a cross to pray on?" He's like, "Well, we don't have any crosses. They were Catholic, don't have it." He said, "But I'll tell you one better." He's kind of disappointed to see my disappointment. He goes, "But I'll give you one better. Come with me." And he brings me inside the church. Now, he would have got in trouble, I'm sure, if anybody would have caught him. Because he wasn't supposed to bring me in there during that specific time. And when I tell you, I walked in that place and I literally got the breath knocked right out of me. It was unbelievable, the spirit that existed there. I fell to my knees. So when I got in there, though, he goes, "Come here, right this way." And he points to a stained glass window. And on that stained glass window, you see this picture right here, just as it is. Okay? Now, what he wanted to show me, though, is when you took your camera, looked through your camera phone at the picture, something happened that was extremely special. Jesus began to illuminate all those people down there. And they looked like they lit up through your phone. Now, if you took a picture of it, it would still look like it was lit up. They were all illuminated perfectly. And why that was the guy who painted that stained glass, before cameras were ever even invented, used an invisible ink that only reacted through a type of photosynthesis, and it only showed up on your phone or when you took a picture of it. It was absolutely amazing. So I was blown away by that. How does a guy who has no idea that cameras are ever going to be invented use an invisible ink at the time to I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. So it was pretty amazing. So we'll skip on that. Let's see if I can get back to where I was. So the Transfiguration, that's what it's all about. So that's where he's at, the Mount Transfiguration. So now I want to go and I want to see this, right? So what does that mean? Well, they do something called the Feast of Transfiguration. I'm going to leave that picture there and we'll just move on. So there's something called the Feast. The Mount of Transfiguration, and that's a good one there too. We'll just go there because that's where it's at. So I want you to see this word. And the final destiny of the soul of humankind. So that's pretty cool. So what does it mean in the Bible? Gives you it. But what I like about this is as you keep strolling, you see, it's like, oh, that's the answer. Now watch this. The more questions you ask, the more answers you get. So what is it meant by that? Oh, okay. So it's a belief, a doctrine concerning the ultimate and final things such as death, the destiny, the human second coming. Okay. Now I'm telling you this because what do you call the end of the world? So if I know certain things, well, this is what you call the end of the world or the end of times. Gotcha. Okay. So we're going to go back here and say, why is that important, Justin? Because there's a definition to this stuff. So we will go to get some information. We want the transfiguration of Jesus. There it is. But we're looking for the feast. There was a feast they had to celebrate this moment, right? So we're going to go here. I'm going to say, no, I hate this thing, man. When I'm using this microphone, it don't work. So we go to Feast of the Transfiguration. Come back here. Here we go. Here's what it'll tell us about it. 2020. If you guys want to go, it's Thursday, August 6th. I hope to see you there. Well, it's celebrated by various different Christian communities. So what is it a sign of? It symbolizes the life to come and thus the goal of the ascetic pursuit. Well, what is the ascetic pursuit? Well, I will tell you. It means that it's a pursuit. Let's just look it up so you can see it. I don't want to tell it to you. Don't let me tell it to you. So we're going to go to that but after we get past this. So why is this Feast of Transfiguration important, and what is the ascetic pursuit? Because that's what it means. The festival celebrates the revelation of eternal glory of the second person of the Trinity. It took place there. Okay, awesome. Well, how do you celebrate it? Well, they do that. Okay, the more questions you ask, the more answers you get. The more questions you get. Was the Holy Spirit there? Yeah, sure was. Yeah. What does Transfiguration represent? Then it symbolizes life come. We've been there. So what is the biblical meaning of it? The more you click, the more it keeps going. Jesus is called by the Son of Voice. Okay. How was the Holy Trinity present? What happened at the Transfiguration? It will tell you in these accounts that Jesus and three of his apostles, Peter, James, and John, they go up a mountain to pray. What can we learn from the Transfiguration? That right there, we had to submit to God in all his ways. What mountain did he pray on? Where's the Mount of Transfiguration? What miracles are recorded in all the four Gospels? Why are the children of Lent? What do I say? Okay, so obviously from here, the Feast of Transfiguration. Let's see what Wikipedia has on it. I wish I could stop those things from intruding on me. So, celebrated various of these Transfiguration through order of the feast of universal feast. Old Catholic, the Transfiguration is considered a major feast among the 12 great feasts. This is what I find hilarious here. Copacabana, Ethiopian, references. Okay, so I thought there was more to that, but apparently not. So the Transfiguration is considered a major feast. There was something in there. The Mount of Transfiguration. Oh, I know. The Feast of Transfiguration. There it is. The significance. The Transfiguration is one of the miracles of Jesus in the Gospels. This miracle is unique among others that appeared in the Gospels, and that the miracle happens to Jesus himself. It's the only miracle that Jesus didn't perform because it happened to himself. He performed miracles for everybody. Those are all miracles performed for others. This is the greatest miracle in that it complemented baptism and showed the perfection of heaven. So we'll find out later, what does that mean, complemented the baptism, So we'll get back to that. But it's saying that was the best, one of the best things, and one of the top 5. Out of all the 5 things Jesus did, when you're talking about miracles, that was his best one. So, okay, we got that. Now let's go here. I am then going to paste this word in here so you can see this is the type of life that you're trying to live. When you do this, you're trying to live this kind of life, a life to avoid everything, to deny yourself of everything. So what is that person? They deprive themselves with self-discipline. What does it literally mean? It says that by a state of extreme abstinence, austerity. I don't know what austerity is either, so we'll look that up. So what does asceticism mean? It's defined strict chastity. Okay, well, what does it mean to live that kind of life? Very simply, especially one who abstains from the normal pleasures of life and denies himself or herself material satisfaction. Why do people want to live that kind of life? It refers to people who choose to abandon the worldly pleasures in order to pursue spiritual goals. Well, duh, doesn't that just make so much sense? Of course it does. So it also, been known for that, for like monks and stuff have done it. So this is another one. I said, okay, well, I check it out. What is this at Wikipedia? And I could see that it says it's the absence from sensual pleasures to obtain spiritual goals. But one thing I did notice was it had this and the meaning. Well, I was like, well, what's that? What is this word? What does that word mean? Right? So I copied that. I was like, no, I haven't seen that one yet. And it's describing ascetics, so I'm assuming they have something in common. So what I'm going to do now is I'll grab that word. I'll go up here. You just look for things that catch your attention. I'm like, wow, wait a minute, what's that? And it leads you on this thing. So what is that? Well, what that is the study of the origin of words and the way in which their meanings have changed throughout history. That's what I've been doing lately. I've been talking about the baptism lately. I didn't even know this was a miracle done to Jesus, and one of them in the Bible, and the most unique one. No church I've ever been to has ever brought it up. I didn't even know about it until I Googled it and remembered seeing that picture. So now I know about it. So now we know what it is. So from here, this is what I want to tell you. This is what I want to tell you. In her dream, this is what I'm coming to. After studying the words, seeing how they changed, now I can go into it deeper and find out the reason why they brought them up there. But if I was to interpret this dream for her, I got all types of stuff for me now. But if I was to interpret it for her, I would say, I would have to know that. So this is the last question I would have to know. And it would be, why did Jesus bring Peter to the Mount of Transfiguration? know me. All right, so why did Jesus bring Peter there? Because under my interpretation, who I believe Peter is I didn't want to do that. I wanted the short answer, but anyway. So Peter, get this. I'll go into that. I'll finish with this one. But Peter's very important to the story because obviously he's the rock. The church was built on him. Do we know why? I'll tell you. So you get into these, but if you just scroll down, these little questions give you more of the quickest answer. Why did Jesus take Peter, James, and John on the mountain? Why? In the gospel, he takes them, which is not named. Once on the mountain, Jesus was transfigured before them, face shining the sun of the light. Okay, still didn't tell why. Why did Jesus go to the Mount of Olives? What was the Holy Spirit? Who were the three disciples closest to Jesus? John the Apostle, Lazarus, these people close. So, John was closer to him. I mean, Peter wasn't? Really? Peter wasn't. He built the church on him. He wasn't close to him. They weren't close then. We could pretty much say that. They weren't buddies. They weren't close friends. So we'll see why that makes sense later. So why did Moses, Elijah, and Jesus talk about at the transformation? Transform before the garment, the prophet Elijah represented the prophets. So you will find it's referred to as being loved by Jesus more than the others. Of course she was. How many signs? How many brothers? When did the transfiguration? When did it occur? It's early 7th century. Miracles are recorded in all four Gospels. Man, it changes every time. Is the transfiguration in all four Gospels? Story of Jesus, the transfiguration becomes radiant upon the mountain. The synoptic Gospels, which are just Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Second Peter refers to it. So, what were Jesus' miracles in order? What did John not use? Why did John not use the transfiguration? Goes back to this and that, 4th century, wrote it over that, something like that, allude that. So, this is what I'm going to get to. And I'm going to finish off with this because we're getting long. I want to stop at 20. What does it mean to be transfigured? All right, I got to do it. A change in form or appearance, metamorphosis, an exalting, glorifying, or spiritual change. A metamorphosis. That's why you'll see these people who are waking up are so attracted to the butterflies because of their metamorphosis. That's that. I will have to dig into it deeper, but for time, I'm going to say. I believe he took Peter up there. I don't know if this is right, so you guys can double check me. But Peter was very important. I don't know why he took the other two, but Peter was very important to the church. Now, how does this all pull together? Well, this is what I'm going to say now. This is what I am going to say now. We'll get out of here. So, basically, her dream, somehow she was taken to see this, right? She was taken to see this. And Jesus took Peter and the other two apostles. But in this reference, he also took her. Now, she is then being grouped to those people. And the way I see her is as a Peter. So she represents one of these characters. She represents the Peter in this, I know. Why do I say that? I'll tell you. Because Jesus and Peter were not friends. They may have been associates, but they weren't close as we saw in that. And there was a reason. It's because Peter thought Jesus was full of shit. He didn't mind telling him. Peter was the type of person that you couldn't just walk up to and say anything to. He wouldn't peddle it. You know what I mean? He would not peddle that crap. So you had to come with him with proof, facts, and evidence, because you couldn't sway his mind. And that's who she is. You are not going to sway her mind. She is a Peter. Why Jesus needed to get him to know that is because once you convinced Peter, he was a rock. You couldn't move him. His opinion was stuck. If you convinced him, so he spent a lot of time, doubting God. or Jesus, and that's what Jesus worked real hard to do with Peter. That's why he was always with him. And you can read, if you go to, well, you can read this in the Greek and Hebrew Bibles. Unfortunately, you can't read it in your King James or any American English written Bible. And that's a dang shame. But there was a spot where Jesus was trying to show Peter that, Peter, I'm not some freaking magician. I'm not some sideshow, Peter. I have knowledge and mathematical certainties that God has revealed to me on a quantum level. It wasn't called quantum then. So saying, well, why is quantum not in the Bible? Because no English word is in the Bible. So basically, he had this understanding, and he was trying to explain this to Jesus, or to Peter. He said, Peter, look, when I tell you to walk on water, you do it and don't doubt. Just do it. So Peter went to try one time, and then lightning struck. He lost faith. We know this story, as some of us who have looked it up. So we know this story. So Peter begins to sink, and Jesus, angry, gets out of the boat, and in front of all those people, chastises him, picks him up. He's got no faith. So they get up on the shore, and you got that's hilarious. And you got Jesus up there, and this is the part of the Bible that say is not in English terms, but you can find it in Greek and Hebrew. Well, there are three kinds of love in the Bible. When you're dealing with Hebrew and Greek, there's a kind of love that is between two brothers, a brotherly love. There's a kind of love between a husband and a wife, a marital love. And then there's the kind of love of a God. Agape love is what they call it. So on the beach, this is more what that conversation sounded like from the Greek and Hebrew translations. You won't get it out of the American ones. But in that scenario, Jesus can't understand why he won't separate his mind from the nonsense that these people are believing. Because everybody thinks Jesus is just like the greatest magician of all times. Oh, I got to check that out too. So he's trying to tell him, I know things. So this is where it came to. They're on the beach. He goes up to him and he's angry with him. And this is the part that I come through a vision of mine. This is a vision of mine, and this is what I saw. So I saw Jesus come on the beach, and he's mad and he's angry. And he goes up to Peter and he goes, Peter, do you love me like a God? Do you agape love me? And Peter turns to him and says, I told you I love you like a brother. Okay. Well, angry, Jesus then circles back around. Second time comes around. Peter, do you love me like a God? And Peter said, I told you I love you like a brother. Okay, comes back around. Do you love me like a God? And Peter told him again, I told you, Lord, I love you like a brother. So that's the actual conversation. Now, how did that happen? Well, Jesus had infinite knowledge. He wanted Peter to see that he was not some freaking sideshow. He wanted him to see that there was reasoning behind the knowledge he had. So he took him out and said, come with me, Peter. And he dragged him over to the Sea of Galilee. And at the time, there were earthquakes. And all around the Sea of Galilee is this salt. The salt then leaked out into the sea from the earthquakes. And by doing so, the water is so thick. I know you guys have seen it before, a guy who walks on water because there's so much sand in it. Well, there was so much salt in the water, Jesus was trying to tell him, just walk fast, believe in me, believe what I tell you, believe what I told you, and walk fast, and don't doubt. Peter's like, okay, well, when he tried it, he doubted. Now, you go check that today. It lines up with the same reason why the people were fishing all day and couldn't catch nothing. And Jesus said, hey, throw your nets over there. Because the fish, the salt marsh strangled all the oxygen out of it and killed the fish. They were just rolling the tide. So every fish in the entire sea was rolling with tide. And that's how Jesus fed everybody. The fish never ended. It seemed magical to the people who didn't have the knowledge, but it wasn't magical. Every single fish in the Sea of Galilee was dead and washing in with the tides. Come to find out, that type of thing could happen every 2,000 years, go figure. So that's what it was. He was trying, and Peter, being explained to him, he still couldn't see it. Peter had a mind that was gone. As you have noticed, some people here today do. Couldn't see it. Even being explained it. How many times today have you tried to explain something to somebody and they couldn't see it? Exactly. So that's why he needed Peter, though. Because once he made Peter see it, there was no denying it. So I'm sure I'll be cast into the pits for that one. That's my revelation. I didn't learn the Bible, God, or Christ through the Bible. I learned it through a revelation of the truth. The Bible refers to it as the revelation of Jesus Christ. Rob, I'm just talking over you all over again about this. So it's a revelation. So why is that important to her? Because I believe she's the character of that. She's going to doubt everything. But once she believes, nothing can change that. So she is putting away some materialistic things. She is going to try and move towards a life that's less materialistic and more spiritual. She is going to come to the discovery that Jesus was not a magician or a magic show, that he just knew things other people didn't know, and they couldn't explain how he got pulling fish from the basket. It's like they were not very smart people back then. They didn't have the competence we have today. That's why when God spoke to those people of the old age, he said, when I married Esther, he said, let there be light, and there was light. Okay, that's great. Well, we're smarter people, and we can understand the quantum mathematics of God. Well, what does that mean in our world? Well, the scientists have mapped it out as the Big Bang Theory. Oh, no, they're not. They're the same thing. And this is why I have the understanding of it, is because I understand God. Basically, he divided himself. So there's the Big Bang Theory to me spiritually seen from third light, explained more, in detail would be this. If God was the only thing that existed, he was there by himself. Well, in my vision of that, he exploded. And in that explosion, the pieces of God flew into the universe infinitely. And what they're doing is they're traveling out into space because he blew up in every direction. That's all the planets. We're part of God. Where the trees are a part of everything that you see around you and in outer space. That's all pieces of God. Now, we've slung out into eternity, and now we're all sort of drawing back to God. So he blew up like that. That's how we were created in this understanding of the old way. And now he's going to come back together. He's going to come back to one. So he separated himself, and now he's going to come back to one. And we'll be on the way towards that. That is the existence of all these things. So that is my interpretation of it. A lot of it comes from knowledge. A lot of it comes from wisdom. A lot of it comes from secret spiritual stuff. But nonetheless, if you really think about it with an open mind, it adds up more than anything else you've heard. Because the pieces go together. So she is Peter, and God, or Jesus, the truth, is coming to her to help her transition from materialistic to spiritual. To help her and to build that belief system that it's real. It's not a magic show. It's real stuff. He had lots of knowledge. So and if you just Google what I'm talking about, you'll find out that these things take. Oh, I really want to know how Jesus sees the coronavirus today. We're going to go into that after that. So in that note, she's Peter. She's going through this transition. It's about the end of the world. Her dreams, and I think at the end is what it was, is for her not to worry. Because if she's Peter, she's going to know the truth. And we know Peter finally figured out the truth. We know Peter finally figured out the truth because when he was being put to death, they said, "Oh, Peter, I tell you what do you want? I'll give you one thing." And Peter says, "I have one request, that you crucify me upside down because I don't even deserve to die the same way my Lord did." Now, what a great idea. Because being crucified upside down, you don't sit up there for 3 days and suffer. You're out, a couple hours, 3 minutes. I don't know. So that's where it is. Final interpretation. She who had that dream is Peter. Jesus has brought you to that mount that you may have a festival to remember that mount, because apparently everybody's forgot about it. So I would say to you that Jesus brought you to that mount the same way he brought Peter there, for you to see that, for you to understand that, and for you to see that after that, there is nothing. It's over. So we're reaching an end. It's the end. All that lines up and flows together. So if I was to say to you what I want you to understand, what Jesus is trying to communicate to you there is he wants the festival of transfiguration brought back. Easter's not the most important thing he's done. Not to him. It's not the most important thing to him. They say it's one of 5 things, the most important. With the birth, death, resurrection, and ascension comes the festival of transfiguration. Now, can that be so forgotten if it's that important to him? I don't know. But I believe that God and Jesus is speaking directly to her to have a feast. I believe it's in August. It'd be nice if you did it at the right time. I don't think it matters. Have a feast and dedicate it to the first time God performed a miracle on Jesus. It was the only miracle in the Bible that he didn't do. That's very significant. So after she has that feast, she will be able to understand that, okay, it's real. Okay, now I'm going to move towards putting away these materialistic things. Don't give them away. That's for some people to do, not everyone. We're all fingers on the hand of God, Jesus being the thumb. And if we all do what we're supposed to do individually, we can use the thumb to help us pick things up, which will make the hand of God useful. Because with just fingers and no thumb, it's not useful. You can't do anything with it. So once she does that, she'll abandon that and move towards this. We are coming to an end. There's going to be a beginning. It happens over and over again. It's the end of times. It's the end of the worlds we create. Not Earth, the world we create. So the end days happens every 100 years, every 1,000 years, and uncontrollably, undeniably, every 2,000 years. We're all, what is that when you get an update? Yeah, we're updated. So with that, she has that, she gets that, and in the end, she gets to realize, like Peter, that it was real. And in the end, Jesus gets to get her to believe. Not just believe, but know through a personal experience that it has to be. Because how can this guy who doesn't know what's inside my mind say things in my mind unless we're both dipping into the same spiritual consciousness that is the spirit of the truth? Talk about the upper room of John 14, 15, 16, I do believe. You can find out about that. So she gets that confirmation. You know what I mean? So she's going to be edified. I'm edified. Because for the love of God, the first thing he ever showed me on my walks was a picture of the transfiguration in a miraculous form. An unexplainable form, and I didn't even think to look it up. I got pictures of it on the other Justice one. I'm going to go get the actual picture of it and share it underneath this. So I've gotten so much from it. And that's how you know that the coincidental force of the world or God had something to do with it, because it's reciprocated. Which means anything that you do for me, or say to me, I receive from, if I say something back that you receive from equally, then it wasn't God. Because God fuck! Damn it! Lord, well, my battery's dying. See you guys later. I'll finish later. Part